Well, first of all, thank you for having me, and I have to give a few shout-outs already. So I understood that Georgia nominated me to be a speaker here today, and Bus agreed to then have me here today. But I'm very, very excited to be here. I'm amongst my peers, so that's always a great experience, and I hope to speak to more of you when we have different sessions today. My objective today is to share my personal story, but also I hope to enlighten you on the untapped talent that I believe is still out there that companies can tap into. And my journey, like Babette said, has landed me to be responsible for Heineken. So as of today, I'm the head of talent acquisition for Heineken, which is not a small job, I would say. For the people that know Heineken, obviously it's a great brand, and I can only talk from the outside looking in, because today is my first day. But Heineken has around 3,500 or 3,500 people working in the Netherlands. They have 5 different entities, and I get to lead that team of 25 to 26 people in bringing talent to the organization, which I'm very, very excited about. And I see it as a privilege as well. But I didn't get here by chance, because sometimes you think, hey, how did this guy get the job? I was told that 20 people interviewed for the job, who went to different stages. I did 7 interviews with a lot of MDs, so I'm the lucky one, right? But I do think that I have a baggage that I carry with me. And I listed all the companies that I worked for when I started actually my employment, which is 23 years ago. And I've learned so much from the different companies that I've worked for. And I think ABN AMRO took a chance on me when I was at my, it's called MBO. So I have 2 degrees, an MBO and an HBO, in banking and insurance. And they took a chance on me to give me an opportunity to work in one of the branches. And it was a great experience. I got to meet a lot of different people. I got coached and mentored. But he also showed me, how to behave in a corporate life. And then I moved to Nike. And Nike was also a great opportunity. I managed to stay there for almost 8 years. And Nike showed me, how to be a true profession, especially in the HR field. For the people that don't know, Nike is a well-oiled machine. So to be successful there is very high on performance. You need to show up every year, performance management. But I was very, very fortunate to meet a lot of people who also guided me and also shared with me how important it is to have a mentor. So I've had a mentor to this day, one in the company and also one externally, typically, who guide me through different processes as well. I'm also very, very big on giving back. That's something that the last couple of years I've been doing. So I work with Giving Back, which is, and we talked about it in the break a little bit with Bernice, who also has played a role with Giving Back. It's helping underprivileged kids, guiding them, with their journey, typically in the last year of high school, and utilizing the networks that they don't have access to because they're underprivileged. And I think it's very, very important to give back to, underprivileged, because, when I'm telling my story, you understand why. It takes heart, because I've been in rooms where, I'm the only one. And I'm very, very happy that you're all here today, but I would have liked to see more people of color, because this topic is also I hope this topic is also important to them as well. And that's why I want to echo my voice also on different platforms to make sure that, people have a role model, or at least somebody they can look up to from that perspective. My journey started in Ghana. So I was born in Ghana. And for the people that don't know Ghana, I think it's a great place, to grow up. My mom and dad brought me up in having, great values. And Ghana, typically people from Ghana are very, very social, very, very happy, always willing to help. And that's also how I am as an individual. So I'm really, really proud of my roots. One thing that I must say is that a few years ago, Ghana had the opportunity to play against the Netherlands in the World Cup. And people were asking me, so who are you for? I said, how can you choose between your mom and dad, right? So obviously, Ghana being my motherland, and the Netherlands being, my fatherland, so to say. This is not my picture, but this is how I actually was in school. My parents and my grandma instilled in everybody in her family that education is important. And typically, you also need to sit in front of the school class to make sure that you pay attention. And we don't have it here in the Netherlands, but in Ghana, you do a rating from number 1 to number 50 as a kid. And my mom and dad said, you need to be top 5. So wherever, reports card you receive, you need to be. So that was also very, very much instilled in me at a young age. I'm trying to do that with my kids right now. I hope they get there. Ghana is one of the first countries in Africa to also have, the independency. So that's something that I'm also very proud of from the colonist country. Obviously, Ghana plays a very important role when you talk about, trade and things of that nature. But I'm a proud Ghanaian, but I'm also very proud to have an opportunity to be in the Netherlands to learn and grow and develop and also interact with people. For the people that don't know, one of the key traits for Ghana is actually gold. So a lot of gold has been, let's say, digged in mining done in Ghana. And the second one is obviously cocoa. And cocoa is used for either coffee or chocolate, which is also one of the, to this day, one of the number 1 and 2, export for Ghana. Nowadays, I heard they found oil, so oil probably is going to be the number 1 resources for export. I found this picture, and this is us 6 months in the Netherlands. So you have my mom and dad, and then you see me in the middle with my denim on denim. So I was fortunate enough to work for PVH, which is a fashion company, and I still have a lot of clothes from PVH. But the fashion it definitely comes from there. And this is actually my backbone. So we came to the Netherlands as a collective. My dad was already here, I think 1 or 2 years before we came. And it's something which is called in Dutch gezinshereniging. So that for the people that know it, if you're a political refugee, you get a chance to bring your family together. And to this day, I still support Amnesty International because that's the organization that brought us to the Netherlands. So I say no to all the other organizations, but just to Amnesty International. So this is also an image when you talk about refugee. So I am a refugee, right? And I think it's very important for us in this room to also consider refugees when we look at talent. Typically what you see is that refugees sometimes have 2 or 3 degrees, and unfortunately are not given the opportunity because of, their status. I was fortunate enough to work with Randstad a few months ago when we talked about, how can we potentially improve that when it comes to refugee. And I also have the Refugee Talent Hub as, an endorser on making sure that we give refugees an opportunity so that they can also land an opportunity in the Netherlands. And why do I say that? Because there's a lot of benefits when you have a good job. The first time I went on holiday, I was 14, I believe 15 years old. I didn't even know what a holiday was. And because we were in the Netherlands, our dad took us to our holiday, and that was in Germany. Just going outside a different country, interacting with different people. Obviously, I didn't understand German, although it seemed like Dutch, but I didn't really understand that. I think it's important to also, give people an opportunity that you don't look at instantly. In 1988, we landed in the Netherlands. I was 11 years old, and the whole street, this was June, by the way, the 12th of June, and the whole street was orange. Does everybody know the reason why? The EK, indeed. I was like, what the hell is going on here? But the Dutch team had just won the European Championship, and obviously they've been very close in World Championship and European Championship. So that was my first experience in the Netherlands. And I remember it vividly because I was like, what is going on actually here? But, great experience, and I'm a football fan myself. But I think is when you enter a different country, you know, learning the language, interacting and understanding culture is also a very important piece. I got a chance to actually learn the language the first year that I was here because I didn't speak the language. I learned Dutch and English, and then it's called the Schakelbrugklas. For the people who know, you laughing? Why are you laughing? We know what it is. Okay. But for me, I had like a thick book where I was learning the Dutch language and the English language. And then it was decided which level I could go to from an educational perspective. And I did the MAVO, and I went on to do the MBO, banking and insurance, as I said. And I did my HBO degree, which was in human resources. And this is not me, but this is how my hair looked like when I was in high school. And what it taught me there is that, you know, everybody from the high school had a different background. So I was already integrating into a culture of diverse people. So I don't know any better than that. But if I look at my upbringing in Ghana, obviously, I think 95% of the people that I saw was black, right? I found out later, but my uncle studied in Leiden, and he met a lady who was white and Dutch, and he brought her to the Netherlands. So I actually had mixed cousins, and I found out later in my career, I was like, that is pretty cool, me being in the Netherlands, having cousins who are actually half Dutch, half Ghanaian. So I really thought it was interesting. And unfortunately for me, if I look at my career, I'm always in the minority in terms of, you know, the role that I've been in. And it struck me like, why is that? Is it because people just don't like HR? That's possible. Black people don't like HR. To be honest, I loved HR, and the reason why is I managed to also pick up a young lady back then, 23 years ago, who is now my wife. And she's also HR. She's an HR director, so figure out how a household is when it comes to conversations that we play. But I thought it was fascinating because whenever I went to an event, even if it's 100 people or 1,000 people, there was only a handful of people with an ethical background. So I was always trying to understand why that is. And as I progressed my career, I also found it very interesting that I didn't see a lot of senior people when I progressed. So I always want to make sure that I echo my voice from that perspective. And something changed, and this is when this guy, unfortunately, was killed. I think for a week or 3, I had different conversations with people in my network. First of all, checking up on me, and secondly, saying, hey, we think that you can be a bigger voice when it comes to D&I. I didn't really understand what D&I was, per se, but then I made it a mission to really echo my voice, because I do think it's important to understand where you come from, but also to pave the way forward for people who don't know and really be a role model. So that has always been something, at least for the last, I would say, 3 to 4 years, that has always been in the back of my mind. And the reason why I do it is because of my gang. So this is my gang, right? So I have 3 kids and a wife. Because I'm also in talent acquisition, and I hear horror stories from people who unfortunately don't get opportunities in terms of even having conversations, I want to make sure that I echo my voice so that, you know, when they send applications, you know, at least they can get an invite and tell their story and share how they can add value to a respective organization. However, I want to give a big shout out to my son, who's the only athletic person in the family, the youngest one. We are close to Utrecht. He has been scouted for Utrecht. He's 5.5. So hopefully he gets to play for Utrecht if there's any football fans here. But I think it's very important to, you know, make sure that my kids have opportunities which is sometimes granted for others, right? And I think you play a very important role in making sure that people get opportunities. I did an exercise with a colleague of mine 4 years ago, and Natalie would know him. His name is Mo Greasy. He read the Simon Sinek book on finding your why. And we did an exercise on how I can find my why. It was very intense. I shared my whole journey, and we came up with this. And I'm very, very comfortable with my why. And that's to inspire people to help others, and hopefully to be a role model in everything that I do, and hopefully we can create more equality in the world. And if you've not done your why, if you're trying to find your purpose, I urge you to read that book, and I urge you to find somebody you're close with who knows you a little bit well to do this exercise. It definitely takes a whole day to do that, so please make sure that you plan for that. But it will give you a sense of purpose. And what I've learned, especially in the D&I space, is that if you don't have a purpose on a topic, you are not going to move needles. So I know we are all HR professionals, but I would like you to think about what is your personal story on the D&I journey, respective to the company that you work for. So please keep that in mind. We all know that diversity matters, right? That's why you are all here, because you think it's a very important topic for you or your respective organization. And the way that Maya Angelou describes diversity is something that really, really also resonates with me, because it takes different people and different tastery to create something. And I don't have to tell you, I hope I don't have to tell you how important diversity is, just from a perspective of learning, getting a different perspective, looking at different avenues. But I hope this also maybe resonates with you as well. We all know the Big Four, which McKinsey plays a very important role in, and they came up with data indicating how important diversity can be for your organization. We all know how important it is in tapping into the talent shortage, but I believe that, with talent communities, you could potentially solve a lot of your challenges that you're facing. We are all here because we need talented individuals to help our company, because that plays a very crucial role in our respective organization. And I also believe that the traditional way of recruiting is not going to cut it, right? You are looking for people, I'm looking for people. So if you don't try anything new, or if you don't try other avenues, unfortunately, it's not going to cut it. So I hope to open your eyes into tapping into different communities that could be interesting for you. Talent communities are professionals who share something common, okay? So they're either in the same affiliation, or same profession, or share an interest, or a skill set. And I believe that these individuals are often seeking opportunities that, unfortunately, we are not considering or looking into. They may already be engaged with your brand, or find your brand interesting, but you need to connect with them. And the talent communities that I would like to highlight, and one in particular, is OMAC. So, and the reason why I highlight OMAC, first of all, I love what OMAC does. I'm also an ambassador and part of the board of advisory for OMAC. But OMAC is a community of talented individuals from the diaspora, and they're all bicultural, right? So I'm also bicultural, just by me, being born in Ghana and now being in the Netherlands. And I think that that's definitely a pool of untapped potential. They just need to find a way to navigate themselves through corporate life. Roots Inspired, which I'm also a mentor in Roots Inspired. And Roots Inspired is an organization that works with, typically in the financial industry, that are helping people with an ethical background to navigate corporate life. And you get paired with a mentor that is helping you and guiding you through your own journey, but you can also utilize them in opportunities that they have or you have for your respective talents. Well, the Refugee Talent Hub, something I referenced a little bit earlier, because I'm a refugee, I know how important it is and what they're trying to achieve, especially in the Netherlands. And it's not only your companies that can help solve, the government plays a role in that as well. But I do believe if we all, engage with the government and say, hey, we have identified a group of talented individuals, please help us make sure they get their right status as soon as possible, and they can add value to the respective labor market. That is something that companies and the government will attest to. So I'm highlighting OMAC because OMAC is designed as a community of professional of people from a cultural background and from African descent. And OMAC has a pool of 5,000 talented individuals who are already working, but in different fields. And we come together to make sure that people have a professional development, a personal development, and financial development and financial knowledge. I was sharing during lunch, we were having a candid conversation, is that I never had a discussion with my dad or my parents around finance at a young age. And that's something that we provide for the community in educating them. How do you go about finances? Because that's also a very important element in your growth. OMAC mission statement is to unlock the potential of the people that are actually part of the community. And why is that? Because we know that if you're part of the community, you don't want to disappoint. And I think it could be something from an African perspective, but we also talk about it takes a village to raise a kid, it takes a family or your community to grow up and learn. And we believe that if you work, for example, with OMAC and the talent individuals at OMAC, they're not going to leave your company per se because they also feel a sense of belonging through that community. So that's something that I would definitely want to highlight. And our vision is to make sure that, all the talented individuals are empowered and they have meaningful contributions to the economy and to your company, in all honesty. And is anybody here working with OMAC at the moment? Nobody? No? So these are the companies that are already working with OMAC, okay? And they have one step ahead of you because they are already tapping into that talent. And you can do small things, you can do big things, but at the end of the day, it's the engagement piece that is very important, okay? And why am I sharing this story with you all? Because you are the gatekeepers, and you are my fellow peers. And I believe you have meaningful conversations with the business, with key stakeholders, in convincing them to try something different, right? I'm not standing here today and say, hey, you need to hire somebody with an ethical background. That's not what I'm saying. I'm here saying, hey, you need to consider having a conversation with somebody with an ethical background because they may surprise you. That's the key thing. At the end of the day, we want people who are qualified for the job, right? We're not a charity. I understand that. We have a business to run. I understand that. But it's also very important, and I know because I've been there, where I've said, hey, somebody's resume looks pretty okay. Based on my conversation, I see potential, and then I try to convince, my hiring managers in having that conversation. And then they come back and tell me, hey, Kobi, wow, I didn't even know that these people even exist, or I didn't even know that you saw that in a talent. That's what we do every day as TA professionals or as HR professionals. And you're thinking where to start, right? I think it's important to identify, the communities that you want to engage. There are different communities. I'm just here speaking on behalf or through a community I'm passionate about, okay? But you definitely have a lot of different communities out there. So try and figure out, hey, which community do I want to engage with? Build relationships, You're not gonna hire immediately if you engage with the community, but through partnerships, through building relationship and trust, they may find your organization interesting to engage with. And you can do it with different things as well. Find people in your organization who are also very, who want to be brand ambassadors and who want to engage with the communities they come from. You know, it could be as simple as, hey, are you part of any community where you have talent who would potentially consider us as an employer of choice, right? It's starting those conversations like that. Leverage your social media platforms, right? I'm here today because I'm leveraging my social media platform in terms of speaking at this event. I believe every good recruiter is not good because they sit behind their desk. When you go and have these events, meet other people, listen to what people what challenges they have, how they're potentially solving the issues and challenges they face, you go back to your office and think, hey, this is a different approach I can take, right? So I encourage you to do something around that, and I think different platforms can serve for different reasons. Offer referral incentives. I don't know how many people in the room have referral programs. That's way too little, if you ask me. So I would encourage you to also really think about referral programs. And I don't think I have to explain how important referral programs are. If you look at the sourcing channels that the referrals can have for your respective organizations. So if you're not doing anything with that, please start to think about that. And when we talk about referral programs, everybody thinks about money, right? But it's not always about money. People who love working for your organization and company will endorse the company because they love being there. If you don't have people referring your company, externally, it potentially means you may need to do something about that, right? So I would really, really urge you to, think about that, consider that, and see how you can leverage that. And this is not a shameless plug. A few years ago, 2.5 years ago, I helped a young gentleman who was working on an app to leverage referral programs with dashboarding, linked to your ATS, and it's called Crude. And I'm a brand ambassador for that. I'm very passionate about it because I'm like, you're trying to help me out with the job that I do on a daily basis. I'm all for it. So if you don't know that, ask me something about it later, check them out. And I really believe they can make a difference and leverage the people that you already have in your organization. My conclusion. Well, I thought hard about, what I want to leave you all with. And I want to leave you here with, recruiting in communities can be an advantage if you include it in your strategy, okay? And I really believe that because, you can have maybe the next Kobi working for you as part of your organization. I'm just saying. And I know that, because I've been a recruiter myself, for the last 14 years, as Babette said, how challenging it is to do other things on top of your day-to-day recs that you have. But I really, truly believe that building relationships, with organizations, with external parties, and being more out there as well and sharing your story, how it is to work for your respective organization, what kind of advantage people can have when they work for you. I believe 5-6 years ago, when I talked to young talent, at least the two key things that they always mention is, I would like to work for a company who has a purpose. And I would like to work for a company who has an element of sustainability. And the last one, I want to work for a company who has innovation. So if you have not thought about these three things as part of your organization, I would encourage you to think about that because that's what young talent is looking for. I also don't want to talk only about young talent per se, because you also have potential in the senior, and I'm going to be senior in a few years as well, people who are, who have 25, 30 years experience, who still want to contribute to the labor market. I want you to also consider them, right? Because we will all be at that age at some point, and we also want to give back. And then I will say, offer interesting content for young talent to engage. Like I said, it's important to have brand ambassadors, because your brand ambassadors are the one who are actually your voice on the labor market, and they can make your life easy or your life very difficult. You see nowadays when people are not happy in their respective companies, they are not shy to share things on the social media platform, and for people to rethink, is it a company I really want to join or not? So that's what I want to leave with you. We'll do questions later, but I want to thank you for my time.